So something strange is happening. I don't know what it is. It just the stream just stopped very suddenly from just now. It was going and then it stopped going, and I thought I was live, and I was not. So here we are. I'm trying to stay true to what the channel is supposed to be about, which is where the trades are all supposed to be done only when the camera is on and when I'm live. So this is still the hypothesis. What has happened since is I have been knocked out of a trade. I left the stream running, so I thought you saw me try to re-enter again, as I saw that the pullback really hadn't been a full firm pullback, and I lost about $1.50 on that particular trade. So I am at 99% of my starting capital, but I am currently floating in profit very, very slightly. But you can see that the price movement, seems to be pushing up. It is really, really pushing up. And even though it's coming up against that level of resistance from before as well, where the price is or looks like it's been trending downwards as well. As I said, there's a growing story, and the growing story is on this side where that's going up, that's going up, that's going up. So this is a legit enough story to say that we can try and explore this trade, try and see whether we can get some success out of this at all, right? So I think it's going pretty well. I'm looking at the details of this as well. The lower end of this is again showing signs of being pushed up. There's all that little bit of all the wicks are at the bottom here. All are green, so that's again another good sign. And I want to make this trade. I want to make sure that I am across the line at least into profit as I go into day 3. I need to have a bit of a break here, right? Now, let me see what is going on in the big picture of things here and see whether there is potentially a big play that I am perhaps just missing by not looking to see what's going on. So there is quite a bunching up of the H4 candles, right? And actually that is pretty significant because H4 is a very, very long category. So this has been prices that have been stagnating now and been sort of like stuck in a particular range quite a long time, right? So it's due to do something. At least we can kind of agree on that. Let me just put that up here. Let me get rid of some of those markings as well so we can have a talk about this. Yeah, so it's pretty clear that these are H4, by the way. So these are very, very, very long-term candles, very big candles. It is sort of apparent that something is happening here. We look at where the wicks of the candles are, and if you look at the bodies of the candles as well, there's a little bit of a hint that this is on the way up as well. So the signs are pointing to a bit of a rally, a push up. But again, it's always hard to say what will happen in the meantime. You can see all these long wicks have been signs where the market has actually pushed down as well, while it's been making this effort to go up. So I can see this, and I can see the potential of this. So eventually, this trade is going to mature, and it's going to push up pretty well, and I think it's going to do quite well. I, in fact, think that it's possible for it to actually go all the way up to here, which is where we see the first sort of step. And that could be a nice, I mean, that I won't say what it could be it's going to be a nice win if the price can make it to there. But what I'm going to have to do is decide how to manage this and see whether or not I'm going to just say, assume that this price does not come back down and challenge the price here again. So just for context, this is what I'm talking about. I'm probably going to raise my stop loss so that it's going to be a little closer to this side here. It's going to make some profit if this gets pulled, if it pulls back and comes back against me, and there is every likelihood it will, because it is at a level or close to a level of a high before, so it's going to have some pressure pushing back on it as it comes up to a level of resistance. Whether or not it finally moves through and succeeds in the rally, we'll see. I think we can try moving up our stop loss into this range here so that it's going to be at the very least a profitable trade, just to the very slightest upside. And the question now is to see whether or not this kind of works out. It does look suspiciously like it's going to push back down again, right? Because we've got this little, these are the mini head and shoulders things that you can see, right? There's kind of a bunch of them, so you can see that there is that sort of a shoulder, that's that kind of a shoulder as well, and so you see the head right behind that, so that is technically a head and shoulders, but not a very well formed one, right? So we could see it as head and shoulders. We could see it as a base rally and then back down to a base again. That happens too, right? And yeah, currently I'm going to say the momentum is still on the upside. There still is a push to the upside here. It's just whether or not I'm positioned correctly here by putting the stop loss here, because by having the stop loss here and this close to the price, there is a chance that I'll get taken out by the price action, and that's going to be a little bit of a bummer. I'm hoping I won't. There's a possibility I won't. As there are always possibilities, I guess. So yeah, I don't intend to stay here with an open trade all the time, all the way through. I do intend to come back in just a moment, so let me just do this. Head out the door and check it out. So I don't know what's been happening. The last time round I had this session done up. It's actually technically still three. So that's just going to be that. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. We don't know if there's been anybody, is anybody. It doesn't matter, because I said this is my own accountability to myself, and I'm trying to make sure that I am staying within the rules and being as patient as I can. I am, and I'm not going to lie about this, I am frustrated so far that it has not progressed in the way that I want to. I wish I had more to show for 2 days of trading, but currently all I've got is, if I close it right now, I've got 2% gain. I think, at the peak of this trade, let me see what the number was. The peak of this trade, that was, I don't know what the number is. It's not showing up. Yeah. So that would have been about 4% up. Again, not terribly exciting stuff. So here we are, just watching it. It's testing up against this, and it has the potential of pushing through. And while that happens, there's always the potential it's going to push back and do a pullback, a retest. That's very common behavior just before a price breaks through and begins to move hard in a different direction. And it may well be that this pullback has already happened, in the sense that the price may have gone up and back already. Like this could have been the pullback in this particular movement already. But we don't know for sure. So we're going to find out together. So again, if you discover this along the way, just find out that this is happening. This is just me doing the stream for myself. It's for me to make sure that I am staying on track with the trades that I want to be doing in the way that I should be doing it, and not just attacking the charts or attacking the market every chance I get with a new position. I'm trying to be more patient, more selective, so that I'm actually entering only when there is something that I see in the charts as a reason to get in. And as I mentioned before, the reason for me that I am currently on this path is because of the multiple higher highs that have been showing up on this particular chart. And if I take this to the M15, for instance, it's quite clear that that is happening on the M15. It's also very clear that it's happening on the M5s. So when there's that kind of thing happening in both markets, you kind of get excited about it. You should really, because like here we can see it goes from this low to a higher low to a higher low to a higher low to a higher low. There's a lot going on there that seems to suggest that it's going to move onto the upside. So I am quite keen on that particular outcome. I have a simple position to try and take advantage of the move that may or may not happen. And it's just coming up right now to test this level, which is, you know, in terms of how we normally approach the market, we don't think that much about technical analysis, but there is such a thing as a bit of a trend, right? So there is a trend that this current rise of prices is actually kind of meeting as well. And that trend is a slowly descending price. So there is a little bit of a downtrend that this current price action seems to be pushing up against. So the I guess you call it a nexus. This is where the prices are meeting, and we're going to find out what happens at this particular point. And the way I position this trade right now is I'm either going to make some money or I'm going to break even. Those are the two outcomes, right? Unless there's some kind of crazy market swing. And I shouldn't have said that because now it will happen. But yeah, we'll have a look. We'll just see whether this holds up or not. It's looking sort of really like in the middle right now. Literally could go either way. And, you know, one could be pleased with the engulfing green candle that sort of says, okay, it's pushing on the way up. And then you have this pushback by the red candle as well, which says like, okay, you know what? Nice try. So it may well be that I'll get another signal that says sell. So we'll see how this goes. At the end of these 2 minutes, we will have a trade signal from, I think, this area here. So this is going to be, this is the space to watch, right? And what's going to happen in here is going to sort of, I think, decide what's going to happen in the next few hours of trading, dare I say, because it is coming to, it is at a level that is somewhat critical. It's right now at a level which is lower than the previous high. So this is basically what this is now. It's sort of a court, right, where the trial of the price is going to happen, right? So if it loses the case, shall we say, then it will show a lower high and will push down the price, and therefore it'll be a signal for it to go down. And it also is a place where the price could come up, break up here, and still make a challenge, first of all, to this level here, which is going to be one level of price. And because it is not going to remain low, or at least lower than the previous high, it might be an indication of it having more energy to push up and beyond as well. So this is the sort of exciting moment that we're in right now. And as you can see as well, that the price isn't really able to come down. It's made an effort to come down, but the price has been pushed back up again by the bulls. Although this candle right now still is a bearish candle. It's still a red candle, but it is next to an engulfing green candle, and then it has this long wick as well, which suggests again an upward motion in terms of price. So we'll have to see where this is going to take us. I could bring in the stop loss a little closer to the bottom of this as well, and that would be kind of the ultimate test of whether or not the thesis is in order, right? The thesis is always going to be based about, you know, what you think is happening, and therefore based on what you think is happening, you position within that. And if you're right, you're right. If you're wrong, then you kind of pay the price, right? You pay the premium that you would have placed to kind of have a look at the cards. You always have to put down something to be able to play the game. If you just watch it without any position open, then all you are doing is expressing an opinion and doesn't really make a difference, right? So this is the position, and this is where I'm just going to watch it and see whether or not it's going to continue, move up in a good direction, or just say that, you know what, it's time. The market isn't quite ready for the buy to happen yet, right? But if you watch this price action right now, and this is the level that is important here, right? This is the level that is being held. You can see that there. It actually is a level that is so far holding, and it's been holding for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a good 20 to 25 minutes now of this level holding, right? So that's significant, because it's a level that it hasn't gone below in that time. So having been pushed down in that direction, and yet not having been breached for 25 minutes or 20 to 25 minutes, that's pretty significant, right? So you can see that as a case for how the price is possibly going up. The flip side is it's been 25 minutes and it still hasn't been able to push way up higher as well. So that's the double-edged sword in this particular sort of arrangement. So we'll see, right? We'll see. So hoping to close up the evening as soon as something decisive happens, so that we can try to get back to as regular a schedule as possible. Again, this whole thing was designed to be something where I can actually do less of this, you know, not be on the air, not be doing this all the time. This stream is actually just for myself, right? It's for me to be accountable, because what I was doing before is doing it completely in the dark, in the sense that if I were to be a little cheeky and take a big risk and just, you know, swing for the fences because I know I could afford it and therefore ruin the account, I would do that, right? And now what I've got is a series of rules that the audience, hopefully, if you've been following, you can rewind and you can see that set of rules that I'm trying to follow. That it has to be with the trend, it has to be off a major a level as well. It has to be coming off a level where the price had previously changed. We are looking to see that we have a pretty good chance of a risk-reward ratio as well. The trade must not exceed 5% in terms of risk, and that's been taken care of in this particular situation, because there's not any risk anymore, because the worst case scenario is that we'll be in profit. And on the upside, it needs to have at least 5%. And this particular target price that we've got is got a little better than 5%. This is going to be 25%, 26%, 27%. If we reach that price target right now. So will it get there? That is something that remains to be seen, but it is all about this right now, right? This is the price that's been coming down. It's been pushing down. And we can see again that the price is pushing up and has been pushing up all this time. This is the on the M30 chart, right? We're seeing this also if we look at it from another perspective, and this is your M15s. Same sort of thing you can see. We have the levels, the higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and now a recent higher low as well. This is a significant sort of steps that are stepping up into the other trend, which is still there. So the question now is, what happens? Do we get push through like that? And if it does that, will it do it in one simple move like that, or will I have to bear this happening where it comes up, gets up to that level there like that where it is right now, and then pushes all the way down before it goes back up like that? Or will it just come down? I mean, that's the other possibility about this as well, right? Either way, there is a risk that this is going to push back down. And if it pushes back down, at least where we're positioned is no loss, right? So that could be something that is, well, it's a non-negative. It's not a terribly good positive, but it's a non-negative. And I think importantly, and this is something that I need to get to be grateful about, is that we would not have lost money. And that is significant, especially when you're trying to hit the target that I'm trying to hit, which is a 10% growth a day. That would usually mean that there is significant risk, and your capital can be affected by that. And on the first day, we did have some issues with that. We have won back that money, right? And so we're kind of back to break even and trying right now to push forward, and with, I would say, a pretty decent opportunity for something to happen. How far it goes, that's going to be another thing, right? So this target that I set up there, it's not unreasonable if certain things happen, right? If it breaks out of this pattern, it's not unreasonable that it will go up to the next level that was very clear, the next level or next base level. The big if is whether or not this is going to break out of this formation. And why, again, like I said, I have my eye on that happening is because we see that the series of higher highs is forming a very clear, to me anyway, a very clear pattern of moving up, pushing up pretty quickly, right? So if that continues and that moves on, the potential of it breaking out of this trend line is not insignificant. And because it's been taking so long for this little compression to sort of resolve, this has been over the last day and now a day and 3/4 of a day. You can see that it has been held back in terms of a price. It's kind of ready to go, right? So it could very well go, and the question is whether it goes explosively or it does this big thing where it flashes out, does a big retrace, takes out the stops, and then goes again. Well, we'll have a look. I've just positioned it now because I'm trying not to lose any money on this particular trade. I should maybe be a bit more open to the idea of opening up a bit more room for the trade to breathe. That's always, one of the laments you're going to have after you look back at a trade usually is when the price has pulled back and pushed against your position. and you were just too close, right? So right now I'm looking at this. There is some reason to think that this might be a good uh, situation. It's looking like a kind of like a little double bottom that's happening up here. I'll just draw that in there. So that's the double bottom that if you're looking out for it, you're going to see it. So that's where I do see it. The only problem is I also see the same thing sort of having happened somewhere out here before. And then the next thing that happened was it went all the way back down like the way as well. So we will see. We will see. The context, of course, of that previous one is that it wasn't coming off a series of higher highs or higher lows. So this is the main difference here. Yeah, that's cool. So we had some people drop by on the stream. Thanks very much for checking out what's happening. Just so you know, this is just for me to keep track of myself. It's not really about education. It's more about me talking myself through the various tasks. This is like my video journal of my trading, because what I'm really bad at is opening up a book and writing down the notes, or even doing it on a spreadsheet. This is something that is a bit easier for me. So the video streams running, I'm just talking to it. It's all being captured on YouTube, and it also keeps me accountable because this is not happening in the dark. It's not happening in a way that I can just be, I can just bend the rules for myself, and I don't care because nobody's watching. This is also another level for me because what I'm doing is I'm teaching other people to trade. So I'm actually helping people to do better trading. And when I do sort of coach them, I'm always looking out for certain things and making sure that they follow certain rules. So this is me tricking myself to having to follow these rules as well. Because there's nothing worse than someone who can figure out the way to get out of a bad situation in trading. And when you say figure out how to get yourself out of a bad situation, it's almost always a situation where you are encountering some losses. And what you're trying to do now is to mitigate for that. Either you've had big losses or you're in a losing position and you're trying to figure your way out of that. And you think, oh, you know, I can maybe take on more trades in this position because I'm still confident in where I'm going. All the various things that almost invariably will end up blowing up an account as you do it over 100 times. So just so you know what is happening here, we're not making individual bets just independent of each other. All these trades have to follow a certain strategy so that the compounding effect of the success of the strategy is able to actually lead to the higher outcome in the end, right? So it's not betting on a single football game, as I've been saying on one of the other parts as well. You can always say, like, in this game, so and so is going to win by how much. That's a single bet, and it feels very exciting to be playing in that kind of situation. And when you do it trading as well, you just do that one trade and you go like, I'm putting my bet and putting my money on this and making sure that this particular outcome comes out. And when you win, you feel really good about this. Trading is about how this plays out over 100 times or 200 times or 1,000 times, right? Because when you do that, that's when the compounding effect of the trades take place. So if you have a gain, let's say, of 10% every time you win, 5% every time you lose, and you have an even chance of both happening. So it's a 50-50 thing, and out of 150 wins are going to happen and 50 losses are going to happen. You can do the calculation. It's very simple. You can see that the compounding is going to take you into the positive direction, even though you've had an even score in terms of 50-50 wins, right? As long as what you're doing is making sure that your risk-reward ratio is appropriate, that's going to work. The other thing you can always also work on is a higher win ratio. And a higher win ratio is going to happen when you are more careful about your entries, where you are entering only because certain requirements have been met. And in this particular case, why I felt that it was a reasonable entry is because we had, let me just draw on the chart as well. One of these will do it. We had a pretty, again, we have this example, this bit of evidence here, which is the rising lows. That's one part of it. The other thing that I was looking at and saying it's another reason to think that something is happening is that the highs are also kind of pushing up as well. So we have that high that's pushing up, and this high is actually significant because it actually broke through from a previous, it broke through the previous high like that, and then it pulled back and did not go back down again. It actually formed a new higher low. And so that whole structure as well is very bullish, right? So that's something that I am pretty confident has a good chance of moving on and finding its next level as well. Now, currently it's positioned in such a way that if the price does not do that, does not push up and just comes down, it's just going to take me out for slightly a very small insignificant profit, but it's also much better than taking a loss for the day again, which I don't want to do. So if you want to see something that is ridiculous, we can look at the equity curve over the past 2 days of performance, and this hasn't been updated yet with the latest number here, but that's just basically this. When you look at how slow 3 data points looks and how insignificant it looks, that's it, right? And this grand big goal that I have is actually based on the idea that I'm going to have exponential growth to the account as it compounds over time. And if done correctly, this is the theoretical possibilities, right? We can talk about how we can get to that goal, and it's not as impossible as if you ask ChatGPT to say, can it be done? It's probably going to say no. It'll give you a lot of reasons because it's based again on what is written and available online. And when you look at the stuff that's written and available online, most people that publish something, it's going to be based on traditional classical trading, right? So classical trading, when you talk about things like how are you going to try to reach, how are you going to try to trade your $100 to 1 million, it is going to assume certain things about margin and how brokers are going to give you the money, and it's also going to be very American in terms of the way it looks at things because of the source code, the data for the large language models tend to be very American as well. And because of those rules, there's certain things about the way margin happens. And when we do it the way that we're doing it right now is we're using margin to trade, but the risk that is being applied when the trade is open is not anywhere as large as some of the large language model answers seem to suggest. It really isn't as much as that. So when I opened this trade earlier on as well, I mean, it wasn't a huge risk in the sense that I was trying. I'm trying to reach a 10. In fact, in this case, it's trying to go for more than 25% in terms of a trade. But the amount of risk I had to put down to open this trade to take part in this was less than $2 of risk, right? So that is what is possible nowadays, and the assumptions that are being usually calculated when you talk about the $100 to $1 million calculation as far as GPT is concerned. It's usually on the assumption that you're going to risk the entire amount to be able to make that 10%, 20% each time, and that is simply not the case. So the exposure or the assumptions about exposure are already completely off. So because of that, I believe that there is an opportunity for something quite significant to happen. And it's not just because I have a theory about it and I haven't seen it happen. Um, my mentor's been doing it. My mentor has been getting this sort of response, like this kind of performance from his own account and how he trades. And it's always been about just being patient with the choice of trade and always watching that you are keeping your money management in check, right? Money management is the big thing. Money management is going to be in control as long as you are in control, and you're not going to get too butthurt when you get kicked out of a trade, right? So when you have a trade that you really want to win, for instance, and it's gone against you, there is that urge to really want to hop back on the horse, and sometimes you've got a good reason to, because the fundamentals are still in place. The 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 price action still supports the idea that you had in mind, and sometimes it just doesn't, right? So when that happens, you have to go, okay, well, maybe we're done, maybe nothing is going to happen here. So like what's happening right now with the price is essentially it's a very low level skirmish um, at a level of significance. This is a level that corresponds to a trend line. There's this huge push that's coming up. Like you've seen, if you've been on the stream for a little while, you will see that there's a huge push going up. Um, but you can see right now the prices are all kind of like bunching up in a very, very small range, and they're up against a critical line. I'm just going to put it in this context so you can see it a bit clearer as well, right? So this is M15. And what's been happening on M15 for a while now is that well, that's what we want to do. We want that. And that whole rising lows, here we go. It's the higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, another higher low, another higher low. It's pretty compelling that there is a bullish action that is in play, and at the same time, it is also equally compelling, equally true that there is something of a bearish action that has been going on for quite a long time as well, right? So it's coming to a head, and what's interesting is what's happening in the details, right? So it may well be that we're going to see some fireworks as this fight happens, and that's going to take the form of the spread getting quite large as prices get pushed up and down and around. So we'll see. There's a possibility that something like that will happen, especially when it's coming to this point of indecision. Right now, it is literally just kind of finding its way, right? It's at the point where it's been going up, going up, going up, going up, and it's coming up to that price where in the bigger frame it's been coming down. So the question is whether it's going to be able to make it through. And even if it does make it through, whether it will keep going or just do a fake out, come back in again, and maybe even hit the other direction, right? So these are the choices. So these are the things that could happen in the meantime. And this is why in the strategy that we have is we watch the market. We're actually here to see what happens with the market, because the market may do a number of things. We don't know exactly what the market is going to do. What we can do is we can try to put ourselves in the right place to profit from it. In this case, for instance, where the stop loss is above the entry point. So, it's not going to be a loss maker, but it's a question of whether or not we break even or we make more money. But also where you put your take profit point can be somewhat significant, because a price can move and actually attempt to get to a certain level and not quite make it. It actually gives it a good go, gets to the point where you see that it's actually just almost made it, but not quite. And that's a point as well where you might go, you know what, close enough, and then take your profit there, and position yourself sometimes with another position when it does that pullback, because it's part of the wave movement of a price, right? It's not just going to go in one line. It will go up, push up, sometimes drop back. So that's what we're waiting for right now. I'm also waiting to close the trades for the night. This is just the market just going, I don't know. I'm not sure why it's doing this as well. I should check what's happening. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to check what's happening on Forex, Forex Factory. That is basically the calendar, so I know what is around the corner, as it were. And there seems to be very little that seems to be holding back the prices. Oh, hang on. I'm sorry. I stand corrected. 2 a.m. is when the big news is happening. FOMC, that's big. Federal funding rate. FOMC economic projections, all happening in about an hour's time. Okay, so this explains a lot, right? For those like myself wondering, why is it that the market seems to be just slowing down and not doing anything particularly? Well, okay, good. Mystery solve. Big news in about an hour and 10 minutes. The market isn't going to make some really, really big, strong moves. It's positioned to do that, and it may well try to drive through. And unfortunately, what happens is when there's a news event coming up, especially when the news comes out, there is going to be a lot of positioning happening based on what people feel is going on in the moment. And that could lead to the price doing some real big spikes up and down as well before it takes the position that the news sort of will send the price into, right? So that's why we're going to try to get out and definitely be away from all this before the news comes, because I don't want to. We're not playing the game. I'm not in the game for trying to read the news and see where it is likely to go, because that is, like I said, it's not the game we're playing. What we are playing is minimizing risk, maximizing returns, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So there's a compounding effect. Okay. So I am going to, I guess, close out, I think, this trade. If this doesn't break through and do a little bit of action, we're just going to close and come back again tomorrow when things would have settled down from what the overnight announcements are going to be. FOMC is a major announcement. If it is unexpected, it'll move the market dramatically. If it is also, if it doesn't meet expectations, that means it can also go either way. So there is a kind of expected announcement in terms of a consensus, and if what actually is announced is different from that, that's going to have a real big impact on the price as well. And the reason why it has a lot of impact on this particular price is because this is gold in US dollars, right? So if US dollars go up in value, there'll be a drop in price of gold versus US dollars. If there is something to push the value of the US dollar down, then this is going to go up, because US dollars have gone down in value versus gold. And so it takes more US dollars to buy gold, and it would move the price that way. The market's just waiting for an excuse to move the price in any way that it will, right? So it's always looking for that. And what we're doing is just going, okay, let's see where you're going so that we can try and position ourselves for this. And this is the boring bit. Just waiting around for something to happen. If nothing at all. And I'm just going to watch to see if it does have any kind of chance of getting as high as just the previous high here, because it does look like it's just, you know, putzing around. No real conviction, right? So we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, still some upward action. That's what is the hint that I see in this, and this is essentially what I think the market is kind of expecting as well, as in it's expecting a certain position as far as the FOMC is concerned, and so it's positioning itself close to that, ready to move in that direction, and that's where all this tension comes from, because which way it really goes in the end, only the FOMC, when it makes its announcement, is going to be aware of, and that's when the market's going to react based on the news that comes out. And I think because that news is not just released as one number and it's just one sentence, I think it is actually put out through an announcement. It has to actually be heard before people can react to it. There are going to be some people who are going to try to get a view of it, you know, like over their shoulder, and they figure out the news like that. There are all kinds of hacks to try and beat the news to being announced. But because it's supposed to be a fair market, the idea is that you will not announce or give any sense of what the announcement is ahead of time. The reality is there is almost always some smart money in the market. And in the moments before the news, what I found anyway is that you can almost see in the candles, the last two candles, usually just before the news or as the news is being announced, there is a little bit of some preemptive movement in that. And well, I don't know enough to trade that movement, so I don't want to get into that situation. And there's a real danger as well when you want to trade around news time, that liquidity is going to drop and not be available for you to get out of your trade, right? So sometimes what happens is just as the news is about to happen, you close your trade, but that is simultaneously happening with a whole bunch of people as well who are also saying, okay, I'm not going to stick around for what the news is going to hold because I don't know what it's on the news. And in that moment, all the orders are coming in to close. And if there is even I would say a small shift in the price, what can happen is there can be enough slippage going on for a whole bunch of orders just to be rejected. And so there'll be a stack of rejected orders that have to be cleared. And that is where you can get yourself trapped in a situation where you can't even get out of your trade because all those orders are stacked up and they're not being cleared. And sometimes, if you are extremely lucky, the price moves in your favor and your trade still stays open and finally closes at the higher price. Woohoo! You get some money and you've accidentally made yourself some extra profit. That's the positive version of that story. The flip side can be quite drastic, right? So I've been there in the past where I have had slippage, and I kid you not, of 276 pips, right? Not in gold, but in currency. But it happens because something so dramatic happens, and there's no way for the market to clear your order. It only clears its order as soon as it's able to, and it was, yeah, 276 pips later. So that's a day I won't forget. So right now we're just watching to see if there's a nice way, an elegant way to end this particular foray. So always good to just have a look and see what the context of it is, or what it looks like in the bigger picture. And so far, it doesn't smack of a absolute downturn. It isn't smacking much of anything right now. Looks like it's in a spot where it's trying to figure out what it wants to do. Actually, it's in a spot where I'm trying to figure out what it wants to do in terms of price. The market makers probably know what they're going to do given whatever the circumstances are. So they know already how they're going to position themselves based on the news that they hear. The start of a new hour. Start of the hour leading up to the FOMC. And let's see what happens here. It's just going to push back down and try and clear the decks. That's the real challenge about gold, right? It tends to do this thing here, which you can see if you look at this chart. If you look at where it pushes down before it makes the big push up, you can see that it actually has come down quite far, all the way down to here as well. So it really has pushed way below the previous low, but it closes back up here like that, right? So technically it still is that rising bottom, but you can see how far this push downs are, right? So this is what I'm not currently liking about the situation. It's not been decisive, not really gone anywhere, and unless this stays afloat and stays floating up, I am probably going to get out of this in just a while. Yep. So it's just come to this level right now that if it breaks down and stays down, there's not going to be much support for it. But if it goes up and stays up, then what is happening is another what do you call it? Another reason to buy the bullish action as well as it's going up, right? So because and you can see, I think this is what's happening right now. The bulls are just waiting at the starting line, and they don't want it to go too far away. They want it to stay very close to it. So you can see as it's going down, it's being bought back up again. Not super decisively. And I think no one's really interested in a big fight right now because of the uncertainty in the market, because there is going to be news coming up in the next hour. So this kind of makes sense. This whole thing, this whole past 4 days or past 2 days, in terms of the H4, kind of makes sense, right? So in the past 2 days, essentially, the price has not moved very dramatically. It's not really come out of it. And in the context of FOMC announcements coming out, I guess this makes sense, because what this is essentially is the market sort of pushing up into the high, testing highs again, and then coming back and getting into a base like this. And it's really at this point that the market's trying to decide what the sentiment of the market is, right? So does it go back up into a buy, or does it go down? Now, fundamentally, if you look at the trend actually is trying to get us back into a buy as well. But this is the consolidation in the market that always happens, right? The market has to go up to a high, it has to pull back, and then it consolidates and it works itself out in terms of what is going to happen. There seems to be a kind of a downtrend indicated by the yellow line there. But right now, as you can see, it's being tested quite aggressively, right? So you can see that in real time, that line is being tested. And whether or not it's going to be successfully tested, we'll see. But that is where the action currently is. This is where we're curious about things. And hopefully we can, okay. I was going to say, hopefully we can stay into this, but I think this is going to push down. We'll see. It looks like it's breaking down, and when it breaks down and it closes, it's time to get out. I would say 3, 2, 1. Yep, time to get out. That's coming back down. I don't need to stay in that trade, and we walk away with our capital intact. Okay, so that is that. I'm gonna close the stream as well right now, because we're not going to continue anymore trading at this time, waiting for news to happen. It's just not something that's going to be very productive, because the market generally isn't going to make many big moves until the actual news comes out. And so it'll be a waste of everyone's time to just wait around to see where this price goes. You can sit around playing cards and make small bets on it, but not much point doing some actual serious trading around this at this particular point. So this is me signing off for the day. Thank you very much for keeping me company, and join me tomorrow for day 3 if you happen to be around. So it'll be hopefully just as, no, not just as, a little bit more exciting than this. There were some things today that could have turned out a bit better, but, well, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And that's how, when you're playing by the rules, things can get a little bit boring, because it's not honestly as exciting, because you're not taking the huge risk, right? It's exciting to have something where you go like, you put a large enough sum down and you place a big risk on it, and that could, be exciting as you try to cheer your horse across the line. But that's not what it is about. That's what this whole thing is about. Like I said, compounding a winning strategy over and over and over, so that the amount of money that we have increases exponentially. And that only happens when you have a strategy that has an edge and you repeat it over and over again. And our edge is always going to be that we are going to be more picky about the trades that we're going to enter. I should have been maybe a bit quicker to exit the situation when we were doing a little better in terms of profits earlier, but you know what? C'est la vie. All right, that's it for me today, and that's the end for part 2 of day 2 of trying to get this thing done. Thanks for watching.